Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I did a video this morning, first thing, explaining that a lot of people within the SNP are likely to tell Hamza Yousaf that he should not go ahead with appealing the verdict laid down by Lady Haldane with regards to the gender reform bill. That, it came back, obviously, the right decision was arrived at. And it will annoy the Greens, of course, but it will really, I think, be a bit of a relief to a lot of people within the SNP, especially the backbenchers, because they know how amazingly unpopular this is with the masses, with the people, even with their own voters, and they're seeing it as being very divisive. And I said there that there will be calls from within the party for him to abandon it, even though it will possibly lead to problems with the Greens. And a lot of people sort of really don't care about the Greens either. But there's one particular person, and I think you can guess who this is. Obviously, from the thumbnail, you'll know. Don't know why I'm trying to make this mysterious. We know who it is. It's Kate Forbes, of course, who not only is against this in principle, this act in principle, but she's also deeply against the Greens. So as far as she's concerned, if it helps the Greens to go, all the better. But she's saying, for heaven's sake, don't appeal. Let's have a quick look at what she is saying. Here goes. Right, and before we get into it, I will ask, if you're one of our sort of 65% or so regular viewers who are yet to subscribe, do please consider subscribing. It massively helps the channel. Because we're political, we get pushed down. And every time you subscribe, or anyone subscribes, not necessarily you, but anytime anyone subscribes, it really does make such a big difference. Also, while you're there subscribing, do hit the like button. That also makes a massive difference. Anyway, we'll get here now. Kate Forbes, as you know, doesn't like the Greens, and she was very much against, in principle, the gender reform bill. Indeed, made sure she didn't vote at all, neither for or against it, by dint of being pregnant. She could have come back, and she extended her maternity leave to make sure she didn't vote against the party, in the same way that Hamza Yousaf mysteriously had a very important meeting that day, so that he couldn't be seen voting for it and annoying those people down the mosque, or against it and annoying those people who were in charge of him at the time, i.e. Nicola Sturgeon. So they both sort of arranged, for various different reasons, to be absent from the vote. But it's clear that actually both of them disagree with it, but unfortunately it is the party policy. And of course, with Kate, she wants to see the back of the Greens, so for her it was this result was like, top billing. It was absolutely dead on. So anyway, Kate Forbes is now warning the Scottish Government not to prolong the gender legal battle. In other words, give it up, tell them no, and move on. So anyway, the legal challenge against the UK government has so far cost the Scottish Government around £230,000, and I will suggest that that is incorrect. First of all, when you add on the Westminster bill, it's going to be £330,000, and it won't cost the Scottish Government anything. They haven't got any money. It's going to cost the Scottish taxpayer £250,000, all because of Hamza Yousaf's either his hubris in he doesn't want to lose, or his cowardice because he doesn't want to run a minority government and he's doing desperate things to keep the Greens on board. So anyway, there's Kate, looking lovely, because I have a thing. I don't like her politics, but, she's quite attractive, I think. Anyway, the Scottish Government must... I don't know why I tell people this. It's bloody obvious anyway. The Scottish Government must not prolong the legal battle following a defeat over Holyrood's gender reform laws. Former SNP leadership candidate Kate Forbes has warned. First Minister Hamza Yousaf claimed devolution was fundamentally flawed following the Court of Session's ruling that the UK government had acted lawfully in using a Section 35 order of the Scotland Act to block the Recognition Reform Bill. Now, it cannot be a fundamentally flawed devolution if the rules of devolution were legally followed. How can it possibly be flawed if the rules that were laid down and agreed by all parties have been followed? It's very, very strange that you would think that. Of course, and the other thing, as I've said before, is that he now wants the UK court, the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, to overrule Scotland's top court. Isn't that a weird way to go around showing that you're pro-independence. Anyway, the legislation simplifies the process. We know that. We're not going to go into it. We've done that 1,000 times, done it to death. In a ruling, Lady Haldane, who presided over 2 days of evidence in September, said the Scottish Government's petition fails, and dismissing arguments from the Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain that the Scottish Secretary Alistair Jack launched the never-before-used power because of policy disagreement. No, just because something hasn't been used before doesn't mean it can't be used. There is a reason for it. But it was basically because we already have enough and sufficient laws and protections and safeguards under the 2010 Equality Act. And so it doesn't need a separate act to do that. But also it means that there is a protection for women and especially young girls from mentally ill men, sort of pushing in on their safe spaces and in on their rights as well. And you don't want grown men sort of going into, say, women's refuges, DV refuges, or into our crisis centres, things like that. So it's an absolute protection, you know. Anyway, Mr. Yousaf said on Friday he would take time to consider the judgment. In other words, he's going to see whether he can get away and not, appeal the decision and still keep the Greens on board. Or if the Greens threaten to walk, he knows he's got to appeal it because, you know, Kendall, smooth at the front, nothing there. He hasn't got the balls to do it. But he has been warned by Kate Forbes that appealing against the decision could exacerbate divisions rather than heal them. Instead, she urged the First Minister to work with MSPs to develop a reformed bill that works for campaigners on both sides of the argument. Well, there is no argument. Men are men. It doesn't matter what they call themselves, and I will continue to call them men. And I'm protected by the 2010 Equality Act because it is a deeply held philosophical belief. Writing on X, the former Finance Secretary said, I previously argued that ScotGov should not contest S35 unless there was a very high chance of success. A loss for ScotGov would obviously absorb public funds but could embolden future UK governments to interfere in devolution, which no party of independence wishes to see. And she's right, and the trouble is, Humza Yousaf, too stupid to see it. She went on, most worrying, it has created a period of great uncertainty and fear for trans people and women and girls, deepening already bitter divisions. All politicians must heal divisions, not exacerbate them. That means listening. Listening? Humza Yousaf never listens, does he? Of course he doesn't. Miss Forbes had been a strong critic of the proposals in their current form, and she said she would not have voted for the bill if she'd have been in Parliament instead of on maternity leave, which, as I say, she extended to make sure she didn't vote. And of course, Humza Yousaf didn't want to vote either and made sure he had a very, very important meeting with some people somewhere, although there was no record of it. If you remember at the time, we did the video on that about him saying, oh, he had a meeting with some embassy, somebody somewhere. Turns out he hadn't. He lied. But he had to do something because he couldn't be there. He could neither vote for it nor vote against it for various reasons. So, of course, he's actually fighting this, not because he believes in it, but because it creates a grievance, a difference that he thinks will help push independence. What a sad little tit of a man he truly is. Anyway, I am going to come up, round off, and we'll finish the video. So although she's not a minister, it's no doubt that Kate Forbes is a big hitter within the party. She is, like, odds-on favourite to be the next leader. And so basically Humza Yousaf is keeping her seat warm. Now when she's coming out and telling him, don't do it, he really needs to start listening because she does have a lot of sway within the party. She has a lot of supporters there. Certainly a lot of the groundswell support, a lot of the actual members out in the street support her. And, she will have a louder voice, let's say, than most people within the party. Of course, Humza Yousaf is probably not aware of this because he's not aware of too much. He'd be surrounding himself with his little coterie of yes men and yes women, all his lick spittles and kiss aunts, and going, oh yes, no, Humza, you're genius. Yes, keep going. Oh yes, Humza, look at you with your bright ideas. And of course, all he'll do is make things far, far worse. Instead of listening to her and saying, okay, enough's enough. If she's lucky, the Greens will walk. But if she's unlucky, they at least abandon this mad plan, and the Greens will sit there grumpy, but still propping up the government. Because what else are they going to do? They don't want to give it up. they're enjoying it too much. And she knows it. They know also if there is a leadership challenge and she wins it, they've gone anyway. So she really is now the power base of the party. And Hamza needs to start realising that his position is very, very precarious. His coat is definitely on a very sugly peg. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.